Welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, hosted by Mason Kern. He keeps his nose to the ground to report on what's trending in professional and college sports, to inform, enlighten, and entertain. And now it's
the Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host Mason Kern, here with you every Sunday, and as always I do have some great stuff in my kennel. Today we're going to be hearing from Mark Purdy, the veteran Bay Area sports journalist who notably spent 33 years as the sports columnist for the Mercury News, as well as Dr. Michael Hutchison, who's the private practice dentist, inventor, and the CEO of Power Plus Mouthguards, and he's going to be giving us an update on how his design can help sports in a variety of different ways. But as always, I'm going to get into some sports hot topics with you guys, and for you basketball-specific fans, I have the always fascinating and interesting happenings on the Hardwood. So I have a few things I want to get to in sports hot topics this week. I'll start with the NFL, and no, I'm not going to get into playoff talk. I mean, I feel like that is so kind of overplayed. We know the matchups. We know what's going on in the playoffs. But I want to go more to the coaching carousel. Something very interesting happened this past week, and it's for a non-playoff team. And yes, I'm talking about your Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, the head coaching search coming to an end this week after Cliff Kingsbury, who at the time, I guess, was the USC Trojans offensive coordinator, but that was a pretty new hire too. He didn't even spend even a season, a down, a play, a spring ball, nothing. He literally just got hired by USC after getting fired from Texas Tech. Obviously, he had coached Patrick Mahomes when Mahomes was at Texas Tech, but I think what the Cardinals are trying to do and the message they're trying to send with this hire of Cliff Kingsbury is they're taking kind of the Sean McVay approach that the Los Angeles Rams obviously took, and we kind of know how that has turned out there, obviously in the playoffs, lots of success, and a lot of other NFL teams are trying to kind of take that same approach, young offensive guru who can possibly kind of rebuild and reshape a program, because that's what Sean McVay did with the Rams, and the success there has been pretty paramount. So we'll see how the Cliff Kingsbury era is in Arizona. Josh Rosen, see how he develops at quarterback, and see kind of where Kingsbury can take this Cardinals team that has not performed very well, obviously, especially since that Super Bowl berth against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It seemingly has been kind of a steady decline since that period of time. Now, elsewhere in sports hot topics, I want to get into the global scene a little bit and talk about some soccer, because Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously the winger for Juventus, the former Real Madrid star, played at Manchester United, one of the probably top two soccer players in the world. Lionel Messi, who's better, Ronaldo, Messi, that's a debate for another time. But apparently, according to NBC News, the rape case with Cristiano Ronaldo is moving forward. There has been a warrant issued for Cristiano Ronaldo's DNA in connection with a rape investigation. Now, Juventus' manager and coach says that Ronaldo is remaining calm throughout the whole situation. Whether or not these allegations are true, I cannot report on, but it will be very interesting to see where this case go, how it affects Ronaldo's play on the pitch, and if Juventus will continue to allow Ronaldo to play as the investigation is ongoing. But I will be sure to get more details on this issue as they come up and keep you guys updated, because big news for obviously the Italian club Juventus, for one of the greatest soccer players of all time in Ronaldo, should this case press forward. Be sure to come back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, and I'll be sure to give you the latest updates as I have them. In other sports hot topic news, we're going to go another global sport, talking about tennis now, as the Australian Open is set to get underway. And some big news as the Big Four, comprised of Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, and Andy Murray, is becoming the big three, as one of those players is set to retire. It's Andy Murray. He announced this week that it was a tearful announcement. I mean, a lot of emotion coming in behind it. Obviously, Andy Murray's so successful on any of the courts, grass, clay, hardwood, you name it. Andy Murray, an elite talent, but announcing this week that Wimbledon will be his last tournament. He'll partake in the Australian Open, which is obviously upcoming, and he announced that Wimbledon will be the last tournament he plays in. He said his quote was, "I'm in pain daily," has been plagued with injuries, recurring hip issues that just have never really gone away. They've been persistent. They've kind of lingered, and obviously as a tennis player, sometimes it's just tough to manage that pain and continue to play at an elite level. So the big four becoming the big three. Andy Murray, once again, just a legacy, a great career, and we'll remember his time on the professional tennis circuit. All right, guys, don't go away, because the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix, will be right back after this quick break.
If you're losing your hair or notice that it's getting thinner, listen closely. You can do something about it without messy lotions or drugs. Now you can get clinically proven hair growth results at home with the Hair Max Laser. Hair Max delivers nourishing laser light energy to stimulate hair growth right at the roots. It's FDA cleared, recommended by doctors, and best of all, it has an amazing 93% success rate in clinical studies in both men and women, so you can be sure it works. Use it just 3 times a week and experience new hair growth, increased density, and healthier, fuller, more attractive hair in just weeks with a 5-month money-back guarantee. Now, for a limited time, save 15% on your HairMax order at hairmax.com. Type in code RADIO at checkout or call 1-800-9REGROW. That's hairmax.com, code RADIO, or 1-800-9REGROW. Experience real hair growth and save 15% with HairMax.
Hey there, and welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and joining me on the line now is Mark Purdy, a veteran Bay Area sports journalist who notably spent 33 years as the sports columnist for the Mercury News. Recently, Mark was the voice behind the newly released DVD San Francisco Football Legends Take on ALS, as he narrated the film. The DVD itself is a documentary of sorts loaded with fascinating memories and backstories as told by 27 legendary San Francisco 49ers football players. So Mark is here today to share some more info on that, as well as his professional career in the business of sports journalism as well. So with that, hey Mark, welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show. So glad you could be here today.
Yeah, I am too. This is a great project that I hope your listeners want to know more about and can support.
Yeah, it's definitely really intriguing for sure, and I'm sure our listeners really want to get right into it. So I've heard that this DVD has a really interesting history. So can you kind of tell us a little bit how it came to be in the first place?
Yeah, sure. A woman named Julia Hutton, who is a public relations marketing person in the Bay Area. About 30 years ago, a former 49er named R.C. Owens, who, if you know NFL history, was kind of the inventor of what's now called the fade pattern,
right? But
was then called the alley-oop pass because the quarterback, Y. Tittle, threw the alley, and R.C. Owens was the oop, and that was a comic strip at the time, alley-oop. So it became the alley-oop pass. Now we know it as a fade pattern, but this is back in the 50s when they invented it. And R.C. stayed on with the 49ers after he retired as an executive and kind of all-around good guy and alumni organizer. And he went to Julia and said, at that time, a number of 49er players had contracted ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, the disease that recently resulted in the death of Dwight Clark, the great 49er receiver who made the famous catch.
Right.
Anyway, RC goes to Julia and says, I'd like to do some sort of fundraiser. Can we do that? And we'll get all the old guys together, all the old 49ers together, and we'll raise some money for ALS research. And while we got it all together, it'd be great if you could record guys just sitting and talking about the old days, and maybe we could put together in those days like a VHS tape for people to buy that would also raise more money for the ALS Foundation. So Julie agreed, put this all together, but as she was assembling the VHS part of the package, and guess what? The NFL had to approve it because you're going to use the 49er logo, NFL logo. And in those days, for whatever reason, I don't want to ascribe any motives, but the NFL is always very, very, you've had the Super Bowl there in Phoenix. When the Super Bowl is there, the NFL controls everything, and they're not going to let you sell anything.
Exactly.
Other than as NFL stuff. Well, for whatever reason, the NFL at that time declined to authorize or sanction this VHS tape, even though it was going for charity. I don't know why, but they didn't. So Julia just stuffed those VHS tapes into her garage. I don't know where, actually. And anyway, well, now we get to 2018, 2017, and Dwight Clark is diagnosed with ALS. Everyone in the Bay Area is very sad about that. What can we do? Julia remembers these tapes. She goes back in the garage, finds them. They're still there. Wow. And she puts them on. They're great stuff. These are wonderful, wonderful reminiscences about the old NFL. Funny stories, courageous stories, great stories. So she decides to try to make another go. That she works with someone who can transfer the VHS stuff onto DVD. She writes a script. At that point, that's kind of when I got involved. I had recently retired as a sports columnist here in San Jose at the Mercury News after 30-some years. And through a mutual friend, I was contacted, and they said, could you help us out on this? I'd do some video work and narration for another project, doesn't matter. And they said, this is all going to go, all the proceeds, all the profits, all the proceeds are going to go to ALS Foundation. So we can't pay any money, but we'd like to have you come in and maybe, work with the script a little bit and do the narration. And, of course, I said yes. I knew Dwight Clark, had lunch with him a couple months before he died. It was very sad. So anything I could do. So the editor of put together these great stories, threw in some video that John Brody, the great former quarterback, contributed from his own personal collection. Matt cool. Hazeltine, who was one of the 49ers who died of ALS back in the 60s, his family gave some stuff to Julia and the video people to throw in there. I just kind of do this narration that ties it together, but DVD's maybe 50 minutes long, and people can take comfort with that. My narration only takes up like 3 minutes. So the rest of it is these guys telling these great stories. They put it together. It's now on this DVD, and it's called San Francisco Football Legends Take on ALS. It's like $20, and I'll tell you this. I can't imagine a football fan. If you're a 49er fan, that's great. But look, I'm just a fan of the old NFL, not wanting this as everybody's looking for stocking stuffers, right? This is a great stocking stuffer for an NFL fan, not just for the 49ers, but of the old days in the NFL and what it was really like.
Right, yeah. For football fans in general to kind of get the perspective of these different players from the old NFL, like you said, that is definitely an intriguing thing for sure. So
right, and the best part is now, so Julie goes back to the NFL, and this time they license it. So it's all legal.
Yeah, there you go.
and there's great old NFL film stuff we can use, not the slick NFL film stuff, but like old film, like from John Brody's personal collection from the old days at Kezar State.
Right, yeah. I think that gives it a nice little vintage touch, though, so that makes it even better. But as I mentioned, 27 legendary San Francisco 49ers football players involved in this project. Can you just kind of go and list some of them?
Sure. You know who they are. So when I was traveling, I covered the 49ers all those years through the golden era with, Joe Montana and Steve Young and those guys. Well, the great part about those days was the 49ers would take along alumni on the trip. that like to schmooze with their corporate sponsors and all that stuff.
Right.
And Eddie DeBartolo, who's the owner team, would set up a hospitality suite in the hotel where the team was staying, and these old guys would go to the hospitality suite and have beers and start telling stories. And I would go down there, not every week, but now and then, and sit there and just listen and just go, holy cow, this is great. Like, this is a special experience to sit here and listen to these guys like Wyatt Tittle, like Leo Namalini, like some guys people may not aren't in the Hall of Fame, but there's great storytellers, Monty Stickles, Bob St. Clair, who is in the Hall of Fame as an offensive tackle. These guys tell great stories, and I would sit there in those hospitality suites like, wow, this is a special experience. I wish more people could have this. Well, now they do, because this is like sitting in one of those hospitality suites, having a beer with these guys, telling these great stories from the old days.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, really exciting for football fans and really sports fans in general to be able to kind of get a behind-the-scenes look, get into some of these stories that these guys are telling. Very cool indeed. Well, Mark, we're running out of time. Thank you so much. Where can our listeners go to get more info and to buy the DVD as well?
Okay, well, you can go to the website alsgoldenwest.org, or you can go to orcacommunications.com.
Well, there you go, guys. Got a little sneak peek there from Mark Purdy, narrator of the DVD. Thank you so much again, Mark, for your time. All right, everyone, the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060. Will be right back after this quick break.
If you're tired of hair falling flat, check out the npbeautiful.com flat iron by celebrity hairstylist David Babai, known for Kate Hudson's beachy waves. This sleek modern iron is curved, allowing for endless styling options like waves, flips, curls, and ringlets. Innovative rose gold vibrating plates heat up to 400 degrees, shuffling the hair back and forth to minimize tugging, slipping, or pulling. And 10% of net proceeds support pediatric cancer and animal welfare causes. Find it at npbeautiful.com.
Hey there and welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and joining us now is Dr. Michael Hutchison, a private practice dentist, inventor, and the CEO of the Power Plus Mouthguard. Michael is here today to discuss new concussion prevention technology using physiologic jaw positioning to increase strength output and reduce the G-force impact to the brain, as well as how Elite Talent's All-Star Combine has made the protocol mandatory for all of their events because of their interest in safety for all of their participating athletes. So with that, hey, Michael, welcome to the show. So glad you could be here.
Hey, good afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. So first off, before I kind of get into the All-Star Combine and whatnot, I was talking about that physiologic jaw positioning. Can you kind of describe what that really is?
Well, it's a new discovery in physiology. It's probably been around for maybe less than 30 years, about 20, 25 years. And what we found out is when your jaw is placed in its physiologic rest position, and that's unique for every single person. It's a unique position based on muscle physiology and neurology. It allows for complete 100% information to your extremities from your nervous system, and physiologically 100% efficiency and muscle function. So you get about 16.8% increase in strength and balance when you put your jaw in its physiologic jaw position. But more importantly, after testing, we discovered that that jaw position is very kind to the skull and does not allow G-force impact to be translated up to the brain. So how does that extrapolate out? Well, this is what happens when you get a blow to the lower skull, which is not protected in any sport. That G-force can get translated up to the brain and cause damage. But if you have that joint separated in your physiologic jaw position, there's nowhere for that G-force to go except dissipate out into your neck and shoulders and does not affect the brain. So you get a 0.26% concussion rate, which is almost zero,
right,
when you have a physiologic jaw positioning mouth guard.
Well, yeah, it seems like a pretty interesting and important discovery. So what then led you to kind of go and create the Power Plus Mouthguard, and how does that kind of work alongside with this?
Well, originally I was working with head and neck pain patients, TMJ, migraines. And when I would use this technique for physiologic jaw position, their pain would go away for sure. But then they would come back and tell me that they would not need to take a nap in the afternoon. They felt stronger. Some of the elderly people would say, I feel like I can do more work. I had a guy who, religiously wears his mouth appliance to mow his lawn because he feels like he's got a lot more energy. So I just there was not a lot out there, so I kind of looked to see what the research was, and there was the rudimentary studies done at Notre Dame and some other University of Michigan about this type of thing early on, and I just could recognize that this could be something that could be good in sports. I mean, what sport don't you need more strength and balance?
Right.
So I thought, well, geez, if I can make Mrs. Jones stronger, what would happen if I took the hapless 0-9 Lions front line and gave them 16% strength? They'd end up in the Super Bowl, and I'd be a genius. So I just started testing. My son played football in 8th grade, Pop Warner, but in 8th grade is when I had an experience, and everything that you do when you do this kind of thing is a learning experience. And I was invited to the Seattle Mariners training camp because there was a local guy who lived up in Traverse City, but he played for the Cubs. His name is Dan Rowan. He was a AAA head coach for the Seattle Mariner organization, and he invited me down there. And but he didn't tell anybody, and I just showed up, and nobody wanted to talk to me, and they made the team physician, who was an orthopedic surgeon, they made him talk to me, and he was kind of angry. He didn't want to talk to me, and really didn't give me much time of day, and asked me for data, which at that point in time in 2003, I didn't really have any data. I just had anecdotal data. And so it made me go back and try to get some data. So I took my son's football team in 8th grade, and they were 0-3 at the time, and I made them all physiologic mouth guards, and they ended up 9-3, won the conference, and every game after I put it in there, they won by more than 45 points.
Wow.
And we kept doing that. The next year, the sophomore year, they were undefeated and had the same point totals. And about junior year, I started noticing that for the past 3 years, none of those kids had a concussion. Concurrently, there was a Catholic high school there in Traverse City that were a powerhouse, and I had through an orthodontist friend of mine who had kids on the team, we started doing them too. And so for 6 years, both of those teams, all those kids had no concussions, and we got 5 state championships out of that. And so that made it take a right-hand turn because concussions were becoming a really big thing. And
right.
So we started studying that more and more, and we have been since 2003 with only 4 concussions in that period of time.
Wow. The correlation obviously definitely seems to be there and pretty strong. But in terms of the guard itself, because we're not going to call it a mouth guard, I guess, like you said, but where can people kind of go and try this out for themselves and some more details about this?
Well, you can go to www.powerplusmouthguard.com, and there's lots of great information, videos, testimonials, and whatnot, but also you can, purchase one. Comes to you in about 2 days. It's very easy to fit. You might think because it's so scientific that it's, difficult, but it's not. There's a technique that you need to do. Most people are used to just, heating it up and putting it in their mouth and chomping down on it. That's not what you want. You don't want to know where you can bite. You want to know where your muscles contract. The muscle contraction is involuntary, and that is what puts you in the physiologic rest position. unique to you. And so really the technique is to put it on your lower teeth and swallow into it. This is patented in all of North America and soon to be worldwide. But it's very important that you fit it this way, because otherwise it's just a tooth protector like any other mouth guard. And let me point out that the mouth guards that everybody is wearing right now was invented in 1950 by the American Dental Association, and advocated everyone should wear those to protect them from breaking their teeth. And here we are 68 years later, and we're still wearing the same mouth guard.
Right.
And getting the same results. We're getting upwards to 20% concussions per year, and that hasn't changed in 68 years. And I'm even going to be as bold to say that the worst mouth guard that anybody could wear is a pacifier. It opens people up way too much. It just destroys their physiologic output and their oxygen intake. It's the worst thing that anybody could wear, and yet how many of these do we see out there in college and in NFL? And we have to change this. We have to change it up to the current technology.
Right, yeah, and there you go, guys. You heard it right there from Dr. Michael Hutchison. Thank you so much for your time. We're running out of time here. So, all right, everyone, the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060 will be right back after this commercial break.
For singers looking for a fun, all-in-one wireless karaoke mic with a built-in mixer speaker and its own light show, Voco Pro's pop-up Oki microphone is for you. It connects to a smartphone or tablet via Bluetooth and accesses YouTube and numerous karaoke apps for hours of entertainment. An onboard MP3 player allows singers to perform recorded MP3 tracks. Its multicolored LED light with on-off switch will automatically dance to the beat of the music, adding visual excitement to any karaoke session. Find it at vocopro.com.
You ready to hoop it up?
This is Happenings on the Hardwood.
All right, guys, as always, at the end of the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, you're on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. It's your favorite segment. It's my favorite segment, at least. It's the Happenings on the Hardwood. We're talking basketball, NBA, college, you name it, whatever's hot this week, we're talking about it. And this week, it's the MVP debate, because the top two frontrunners, you got Milwaukee Bucks Giannis Antetokounmpo. You got Houston Rockets James Harden. Harden's been balling. I mean, this man has been putting up numbers lately. Antetokounmpo has been extremely consistent throughout the entire year. Well, the Bucks taking on the Rockets this past week, and it's the Bucks who did get the better of the Rockets in the actual matchup. And it was an MVP type performance from both players, but the Bucks squeaking past 116 to 109. At the time, it was a great game. They'll face off again on March 26th, so mark your calendars for that, because that'll be something to keep your eye on in terms of the kind of rounding stretch of the MVP debate. But Giannis put up 37 minutes. He had 27 points and 21 rebounds. He had a 20-20 game, put up 5 assists as well. Just an unnatural rebounding display for someone who's not even listed as like a center. He's more of like a small forward, but he also has point guard duties sometimes. And for the Rockets, James Harden again in 41 minutes, he's been logging a lot of minutes. Another beautiful scoring display, a double-double as well, just 42 points. 11 rebounds and 6 assists. So great numbers again from both players. Very high scoring, obviously. And this game was done without Chris Paul. So you kind of have to factor that in as well. Because, throwback to the Warriors-Rockets series when Chris Paul got injured. Who knows what happens if Chris Paul is still in that loop. Maybe the Warriors don't make the finals that year. But that's a story for another time. The biggest kind of news from this game was Giannis chucking a no-look pass directly in Harden's face. Now, whether or not that's actually the biggest news, I'm kind of kidding there. But it was pretty funny. A lot of kind of memes of Giannis holding the MVP trophy and chucking it at Harden and getting it back because the ball kind of went back to him. So a lot of funny stuff there. But LeBron will be in that conversation once he comes back from injury. Got reevaluated this past week. He'll miss the next 3 games for the Lakers, but it should be noted that he'll be back in that fold sometime soon, and he'll definitely be in that conversation. Can't leave out Anthony Davis in New Orleans. So there are still some names to throw around. As this season comes down to the wire, we're midway through it right now, and I'll keep you updated on the MVP ladder, so keep it here on the Sports Watchdog Radio Show. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Anybody wanting to connect with me, the Sports Watchdog, on Twitter can do so at @SportsWatchdog, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well at The Sports Watchdog. So until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
The Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog Ace and Kern.